I'm David Griffin. It's the 17th of April 2018. I'm here at Derby and I'm talking to
Andy Mitchell.
Andy. We're ploughing onwards. We've got through much of your career, your involvement in cricket, but I'm also mindful that you've done quite a lot of work in recent years of charitable concerns. And how did that come about?
Well, my first involvement in cricket charities came through I was at cricket, really, in as much as the representative that used to work for Grey Nichols was Paul Pritchard, the ex-Essex man. And this all started in Harrogate. In our old days of football, there was a big culture that after you'd had your meetings, you went out, you had a meal, and basically you went on and had a longer night drinking. In cricket, it was you had a meal, good night, see you tomorrow. Well, Pritch wasn't like that, and Pritch said, come on, let's go and have a few drinks. And this is how it started. I got very friendly with Paul and become a very, very close friend. Now, Pritch left Grey Nichols to go and work for the PCA, and he invited me to become part of their partners, which was known as the 903 Club. The 903 Club was set up for people who loved the game. It was called 903 because at that time I think it was a record score England had ever made. Yeah. And it was set up to help the benefit side of the PCA, which obviously we all know helps players that get into difficulties. Now that must have been 10, 12 years ago now. And that's basically how it started. So we were attending functions and helping with auctions and helping raise money and through different sort of events. And it's just something that I've got involved with. I mean, I have got another part where I've run a golf tournament for local charities, and we just got over 100,000 last year. We hit the 100,000 mark, so we're very proud about that. But it's the PCA that I am involved with quite.
And I seem to recall seeing you on an awful Sunday afternoon when it was chucking it down with rain coming through from Matlock to towards. Was it Matlock towards?
We finished at South Wingfield.
To Ambergate, yeah, somewhere like that. And you were riding bikes. There was you and Flintoff and Co. So how did they get? Were you a cyclist?
No,
how did they get you on a bike?
Right, 2013 that one, the first one, and I honestly don't know why I did it. It might have been another drunken stupor. I'm not quite sure, but Jason Ratcliffe at that time.
That's right. He was PCA. That wasn't he? Yeah.
Said to me, "Big lad, you need to get involved in this bike ride." Now, whether he meant sponsor it, or whether he meant drive a van for it, or whether he meant ride a bike for it. And I said, well, tell you what, I'll put a team in. I'll make sure that we cover the distance, and I'll do some of it. That was the plan. And the next day I thought, what have I done here? I've never been on a bike since I was a kid. So I bought a bike in June, and the race from Durham to Lords took 5 days. And I agreed to do 100 mile of it, which was quite a big event for somebody who was not the fittest and was, the other side 50. So, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And the thought of riding when we rode into Lords was great. The fact that we came down from Durham and we actually stopped at South Wingfield, and Freddie did. I think that Freddie only did one leg. I'm not quite sure who did one leg.
Because you had him with you that day, and I think Napier was there.
Yeah, Graham did a couple of them. Because since then we've done 2013. Like I say, that was Durham to Lords. Then we did. We did Birmingham to Wales, down at Cardiff last year, and the other one was Truro to the Oval. So I mean, to get to Truro wasn't easy, and I didn't ride that. So what I did the 100 mile on the first one, And after that, I said, well, look, I'll just sort out. So I did help with the logistics on the second two. But now I've just started biking again, so I'm just hoping that they're going to have another one in 2019, and then I'm gonna try and do it again.
So it's interesting, you talked about your wrong side of 50, but you're still playing the game, you're still looking at cycling and all that kind of thing. Do you see a point where you're going to have to say, actually, I'll stick to the logistics? You know, are you the chairman at South Wingfield?
I'm chairman at South
Wingfield. Do you see a time when, do you see retirement on the horizon from the actual activity side of your sporting life?
I find it very hard to say that I'm not going to play cricket. But my agreement to South Wingfield is I will never play cricket wherever there's a kid wanting a game.
Yeah.
And if you're involved in local cricket, you will understand that I will only play when we're short. But that is every Saturday between April and September, because we all know that participation is down. And whilst ever there's going to be a place, I'm never going to let them go with 10 men.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be the first team anymore. Very doubtful to be the second team now. But we have got a third team, and if it means I'm going, I'll just go and help out, because I love the game. You know, don't get me wrong, when I don't play, we congregate back at the club, I feel out of it. I do feel out of it that I didn't actually play in any game, so when they're having the banter about such and such, I don't agree with that, did you see this happen? When you're watching, you don't feel as though you could be part of that, and that's my biggest thing. But if we had a 36 players for 33 places, sorry, I would quite easily be that 37. I could quite easily sit to the side and enjoy both my lads play, so I could watch that.
Yeah. You've obviously got a history of longevity, of you stick to things, you know. How's that? Or Mitchell Sports has been going a long time, and obviously 45 years at South Wingfield is, you know, almost your life from a very young man. So where can South Wingfield go? What are your plans for that in terms of the ground and onward development of players and teams?
One thing that we play in the county league, and one thing that you can't say about the county league is they have installed that people's facilities get better and better and better, and now it is a pleasurable game to play in. I remember going back. We used to have a tin shed to go to the toilet behind. That rate, there were no. The organisation of it was who dug the ditch out at the start of the year and who filled it in at the end. That's what was our organisation. I mean, they now have these days at the start of the season and everything, and it's good. I mean, we have developed our ground quite well because because we got into Division 2 to get it any higher, we had to bring it up to A grade, A+, and
so you could play Premier League if you get there.
Well, yeah, in theory it could. Whether we could ever sustain that is very doubtful. Our plan would be to get into Division 1. If we got into Division 1, that would be a massive achievement for a village, say, of our size. But in order to do that, we've had to make the ground bigger, and I like to think that a lot of this was done under my chairmanship. I'm not saying that I was mainly responsible for it, but I think I drove a lot of it, and I got the people who I've known for many, many, many years working with me, and bringing some new people in. And you know, we have had some very nice things said about the ground and the facilities we've got down there. We've now got a ground next to it, so we've got 2 pitches, which was a dream. And we've got a third team that's playing on there.
How do you overcome those challenges, Andy, about participation? Because it's the challenge at every level, isn't it? You know, to get people involved, whether they're playing, umpiring, scoring, watching. How do you overcome those challenges?
I don't think you do. I think you just have to get what you can and do what you can. I mean, there are more players moving between clubs than there ever has been. But the thing that we do tend to get a lot of people. I'm not saying that they'll stay as long as me, but they do tend to stay at a club. You try to bring juniors through. We're not logistically set in a good place for juniors because we've obviously got Alfreton, Matlock, Morton, Mary all around us, and the draw of the kids. I mean, we'd have to get into the local junior schools. We do get a few from the Crouch, Fritchley area because obviously they haven't got a team. So we do get that sort of thing, but it's very, very hard. It is hard to get people involved, and I can honestly see some clubs dropping out over the next 5-10 years, and I can see 2020 cricket coming in more in a league basis.
Really?
And the lower leagues, I'm predicting, I've got no justification and any proof on this, but I think within 10 years, the leagues around here, the top leagues will still be playing the normal cricket, but I would say from second teams down, there'll be a lot of 2020 cricket being played. Started at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, Saturday afternoon. They've got to do it then, because then you've got your club life at night. You can't do it at 1 o'clock, because it would finish at 5, people would go home. Clubs are run on bars, and bars, they need people to participate in the cricket and still be there after.
It's an interesting outlook, really, that, because I suppose it naturally follows that, I mean, you've just mentioned players move between clubs. Well, that mirrors what they do in the professional game. And I suppose if the professional game, T20, is seen as the game to play, so to speak, it's fairly natural that club cricketers would play that. Has the game changed at your level, Andy, over the years? Do you see a different style of cricketer?
It's a lot better now than what it ever was. When I first started, you don't get too many rotund players like me playing now. These lads are fitter, these lads are athletes, you know. The old foot wedge doesn't come into place much. They have to get down and stop it, you know. At one time, you never had to have your whites cleaned for a couple of weeks, but now these lads are sliding everywhere. I hate to see it personally because I'm just of injury, but they're a lot fitter, and the fielding's outstanding now compared to what it was when I first started. But going back, just talking about 2020, the kids, it's getting the kids to go at the moment from playing under 18 cricket, where they play 2020 on a Wednesday night, to go home. It's getting them at 16 to come and play on a Saturday afternoon. Instead of playing 20 overs, they're playing 46 overs each aside. There's so much more for them to be doing. We didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have iPads, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it isn't. But things like that,
it's just changed, isn't it?
It's all changed. Our day out was play, and basically you enjoyed being with them older people who pick you up, and you'd play at Chesterfield you'd play at, I don't know, let's say the Chesterfield Kongs or whatever in a friendly, and the highlight was stopping on the way back at Unlock Home for a quick shandy and a beef cob. You know,
it's funny you say that. I remember my youth cricket was the same. It was a day out when you went to play at Etwall for Shipley Hall. It was a day out because you were picked up in the morning at 10 o'clock and you didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night. And the older guys would buy you beer in the pub and everything. And you're right, it was a day out where that thrill, I suppose, isn't there for a young teenager now, is it? They've got other things to.
Well, they've all got cars at 17. Why don't they want to be with a guy who's 40, 45, who's talking about how good he was when he was 17? You know.
We talked about some of the glory years of Derbyshire. You talked about people like Eddie Barlow and John Wright, Azharuddin, of course. And we can't pretend that the last decade and a half, the 21st century, if you like, of Derbyshire cricket can really compare to that era we just talked about, the 70s, 80s, 90s. Dean Jones was another player, Chris Adams, people you've talked about. Where do you see county cricket in the modern game and Derbyshire's place in it?
I think it's a very hard one. I mean, you hear some of these people talking at the ECB, and you can. I don't know if you read into it the way that I read into it, but I do get the thought sometimes that we're on borrowed ground. You know, they don't really want us there. They want 8 super clubs, or they want whatever. They don't want the Derbyshires, the Northamptons, the Leicestershires. They want the big clubs, and that worries me in as much as going forward. I mean, I think it's possibly the start of it with this new 2020 format that they're thinking of doing. I fear for county cricket. I think the only genuine reason for keeping county cricket is Test cricket, and if we don't have county cricket, you can't have Test cricket, and if you don't have Test cricket, then you haven't got cricket in my mind. That's the pinnacle. And that's what I would like to think that every lad who come into cricket wants to do, wants to play for his own county and wants to go on and play for England, because that must be a fantastic, feeling and achievement. Now, when you hear of people saying they're dropping out of the red ball because they're going to concentrate on white ball, they're concentrating on it for money.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I can understand in this day and age that money is so important to them. But the romantic side of me thinks, what a shame that we never again going to see the days of the West Indians where they sat round the white rope at Lords, and even the pitch invasions.
Yeah.
Wrong that they may have been.
Happy days.
Fantastic was it when that was happening.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point you made, because you referred to league cricket and about clubs that fold. And when a league club folds, only a proportion of those people involved in that club, not just the players but the officials, are retained within the game. They can't all move to another club, can they? And I think my concern with county cricket is that if a club like Derbyshire disappeared, it's not just the players on the field that would be lost to the game, but it would be all the spectators, all the people that have got an affection for cricket. Would they go down the road to Trowbridge? Would they go to Leicester? And so you'd lose that participation. And that for me is the key to it.
Very few have I know actually go and watch another county. They're interested, they'll look at the scores, they'll look on Cricket Info and they'll do all this. But to literally go, I'll go and watch Notts play Sussex today,
It's as much in your blood. We might not be quite as passionate overtly as in football, but it is, if you're Derbyshire, you're Derbyshire. You can't be Yorkshire as well.
Yeah, you sort of like, it's a little bit strange for me now, because I've always been mad Derbyshire, but because of my association with Yorkshire, because of my shop, there's a little bit of affiliation there, and obviously when they're in another league it doesn't matter. No, don't get me wrong, if we play them at Chesterfield I want to hammer them, but it's easier to fit. I mean, there's no way that as a Derby fan I'd ever have anything to do with Nottingham Forest, but as a cricket, that you can have that little bit of, because I went down there the other day and I said it were like Derby old boys. I mean, they've got Andy, the old groundsman, they've got Bota, they've got Pipey. It was just like a meeting up with their old boys. So there is slightly less, let's say, rivalry than there is in the football.
But your affection for your team can be.
But at the end of the day, there's only one county.
Absolutely. Andy, it's been really interesting listening to what you've had to say, and your love for the game and your passion for the game at all different levels comes across clearly. What as you look back now over the last 40, 50 odd years, what does the game, if you in a nutshell, how would you sum up what the game's meant to you?
It's been a massive part of my life, both financially, I suppose, but just as a passion. I mean, I just love the game. I just hate the fact in September, that period of September through to March is awful for me. And I'm sure that I suffer from SAD, because I'm sure that I've been lucky enough, like I say, I do go to Australia to watch cricket with my lads when they played there. So that has been a bit of a thing that I can do. But I miss it that much, and it is better now that there's coverage on TV of matches. Yeah. I always remember that at Christmas time, when they used to have these shows, I used to get TV and radio times. There were never anything. And one year I do remember that they played. It would be probably about 1970 something. They played a rerun of a match at Christmas from the previous season, and I'm quite excited that there were going to be some cricket on TV between the end of September and March. I mean, I know a lot of people are anti-Sky and all that, but I think that they do it so well and cover the game so well worldwide.
Well, thanks, Andy. You've made an excellent contribution. I'm sure people will look forward to listening to your opinions and your life story in cricket. Thanks again.
Thank you.